Good morning, children. Welcome to the class. So, in last class, we discussed about the electromagnetic spectrum and the visible spectrum of light, and what is the line spectrum, and what about the quantum theory. So, according to the quantum theory, we know the energy for a certain frequency can be represented by the equation E is equal to h mu. So here E is equal to emitted energy and h is the Planck's constant, that is 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 joules, and mu is the frequency of the light. Okay, so here according to this line spectrum, here you see, so scientists found that each element emits its own characteristic color. These colors correspond to certain discrete wavelengths of the light, are called the line spectra. So in last class we discussed about some activities, some small activities, when we are adding the cupric chloride to the concentrated hydrochloric acid. That paste, when you are exit that one to the low luminous light, then it will gives the green color flame. And as well as if you are using the strontium chloride instead of this cupric chloride, again we are getting the crimson red color. So like that, by using the different elements, we can get the different colors here. So finally here we can able to understand, scientists found that each element emits its own character. Each element will emit its own characteristic color. So these colors corresponds to certain discrete wavelengths of the light, and these are called as the line spectra. So these lines in atomic spectra can be used to identify the unknown atoms. So just like fingerprints are used to identify the people. So whatever the colors we are getting here by using the different elements, here we are getting the different colors. So these will be called as the line spectra. By using this line spectra only, in atomic spectrum also we can able to understand, we can able to know what are the unknown atoms will be, whatever the unknown particles will be available in an atom. So by using this one only, so here Niels Bohr, here he was given one atomic model of the atom, so that should be called as the Bohr's model of the hydrogen atom, and its limitations also. So here in the picture you can see, children, this is the hydrogen spectrum. Actually in figure number 3 you can able to see this one, hydrogen spectrum. So in this hydrogen spectrum, here we have three colors of line spectra are there. So here you see, what does the line spectrum tells us about the structure of an atom. So Niels Bohr proposed, so what is the Niels Bohr's model of the atom? Here you see, Niels Bohr proposed that the electrons in an atom occupy the stationary orbits or fixed energy at different distances from the nucleus. So according to the Niels Bohr's atom of the structure, he proposed that the electrons in an atom, the electrons which are present in an atom, they will always occupy the stationary orbits or fixed energy levels at different distances from the nucleus. So when an electron jumps from the a lower energy state to the higher energy state, it will absorb some energy. Whenever the electron jumps from lower energy levels to higher energy levels, it will absorb the energy, and whenever the electron will be jumps from higher energy level to the lower energy level, it will emits the energy. According to the Niels Bohr's atom of the structure, whenever the electron will be jumps from the lower energy level to higher energy level, it will gains the energy, means it will absorb the energy, and whenever it will jumps from higher energy level to the lower energy level, it will emits the energy. And the energies of an electron in an atom can have only some certain values, those will be taken as the energy levels, emitted energies as E1, E2, E3 and so on. That is, the energy is quantized. So quantized emitted energy, that is, the states corresponding to these energies are called the stationary states, means fixed states, and the possible values of energies are called as the energy levels. So finally we can able to understand by using the Bohr's model of the hydrogen atom, whatever the atoms will be present, whatever the whatever the electrons are present in an atom, those will all always existed in some fixed levels only, some fixed orbitals only, and the levels also, their energy levels also will be always stationary. Okay children, but according to this Bohr's model of the atom, by using this line spectra we can able to get only the structure of hydrogen only, and this should not suitable for the remaining atoms also, remaining all the atoms. So that's why this Niels Bohr's model of the atoms structure will be failed completely. So that's why according to that one we are going to the another model of the structure, that is the Bohr's Sommerfeld model of an atom. Bohr's Sommerfeld model of the atom. So here one thing you have to observe here, so whatever the structure model of the structure will be given by the Niels Bohr model, in that he was given the line spectrum only, but when it will be see, in the Bohr's model explains all the line spectra observed in the case of hydrogen atoms. It is a successful model as far as line spectra of hydrogen atom is concerned. Only for hydrogen atom only concerned, but the line spectrum of hydrogen atom when observed through a high resolution spectroscope. So whenever the line spectrum of hydrogen will be observed by the high resolution spectroscope, it will be appears as the group of finer lines, and not as the line spectrum of the straight line. So because of this reason, again whatever the model of the structure will be given by was given by the Niels Bohr, that was failed. So again we are going for the another model of the atom. So in this model we can able to get understand the lines, the group of lines will be appears. See here, so figure number 4 you can able to see. So Bohr's Sommerfeld model of the atom. In an attempt to account for the structure of line spectra known as the fine spectra, Sommerfeld modified the Bohr's atomic model. So Sommerfeld modifies the Bohr's atomic model by adding the elliptical orbits. You can observe children, in the line spectrum we have only straight lines of hydrogen spectrum, seen figure number 3. So this line spectrum only again will be modified by the Sommerfeld by adding the elliptical orbits, So while retaining the first of Bohr's circular orbit as such, he added one elliptical orbit to Bohr's second orbit. So two elliptical orbits to Bohr's third orbit, etc., such that he added one more orbital. So like that, he was guided by the fact that in general periodic motion under the influence of a central force will leads to elliptical orbits with the force situated at one end of the foci. So foci means nothing but the focal point. From the focal point only, whenever we are getting the first one as the circular orbit, so after some time by having the periodic motion under the influence of central forces, it leads to the elliptical orbits. So here first one you can see L is equal to 0 and N is equal to 0. There we are getting only one circular orbit only. But after that, whenever it will be whenever we are coming to the second orbital, L is equal to 1 and N is equal to 2, here we are getting one circular orbit and one elliptical orbit. So why we are getting the elliptical orbit for the second orbit? Because of the central forces which will lead the central forces to influence on the periodic motion. Here we are getting the elliptical orbital instead of this circular orbit. So if you observe the third one, again we are getting the first one as a circular one and second one, third one we are getting another two elliptical orbits. Next fourth one also we are getting like this only. So Bohr's Sommerfeld model through successful in accounting for the fine line structure of hydrogen atomic spectra does not provide a satisfactory picture for the structure of atoms in general. So this model of the atom will give the satisfactory structure for only hydrogen, and it will not give the satisfactory structure for remaining all the atoms. So again this model also will be getting failed to account for the atomic spectrum of atoms of more than one electron. So this Bohr's Sommerfeld modified atomic structure will be only for hydrogen, and it should not give the satisfactory structure for the remaining atoms which will have the electrons more than one. So because of this one, again we are going for the another model of the atom, that is the quantum mechanical model of the atom. So here you see, do the electrons follow defined paths around the nucleus? Do the electrons follow the defined paths? Do you know this one, children? Anybody? The electrons will follow the defined paths around the nucleus. Around the nucleus, will they follow the particular orbit, particular definite path? If the electron revolves around the nucleus in defined paths or orbits, the exact position of the electron at various times will be known. For that, we have to answer the two questions. So what are those two questions? What is the velocity? Means velocity means nothing but the speed of, what is the speed of the electron? With how much speed they will rotate around the nucleus? Is it possible to find the exact position of the electron? So to answer these two questions, here you see, here electrons are very invisible to the naked eyes. Then how do we find the position and velocity of an electron here? Actually, atom is the very small particle, and again in the atom also here we have three subatomic particles. Those are electron, neutron and proton. So in that small particle of atom, how can we able to understand the position of the electron, exact position, and what about its speed? So it is definitely impossible. So to find the articles during the dark nights, here we have to take the help of torchlight. So like that, to know about the structure of the atom, to know about the inner particles of the atom, here we are going for the high resolution the spectroscope or something we have to go, means the suitable light we have to find. So for this short length of light interacts with the electron and disturbs the motion of the electron. Hence simultaneously the position and velocity of electron cannot be measured accurately. So when we are using the short wavelength of light, the structure and the motion of the electron in the nucleus, it will be get disturbs. So if the electrons are not distributed in orbits around the nucleus, this means that the atom does not have a definite boundary. So as a result, it is not possible to pinpoint an electron in an atom. Under these circumstances, in order to understand the properties of electrons in an atom, a quantum mechanical model of atom was developed by Erwin Schrödinger. So to know about, by using the short wavelength of light, it is impossible to understand the structure, and it is impossible to know about the exact position of the electron in the nucleus of the atom. So for this one, again we are going for the another model of the atom, that is the, under these circumstances, in order to understand the properties of electrons in an atom, a quantum mechanical model of the atom was developed by Erwin Schrödinger. It is very important, children. The quantum mechanical model of the structure was given by Erwin Schrödinger. According to this model of the atom, instead of the orbits of Bohr's model, the electrons are thought to exist in a particular region of space. The electrons will be exist in a particular region of space around the nucleus at a given instant of time. So according to this quantum mechanical model of the atom, whatever the electrons will be present in the atom, they will be always exist in a particular place around the nucleus in the atom. That particular place will be called as the probability of finding the electron is called as an orbital. So the region of space around the nucleus, where the probability of finding the electron is maximum, is called as an orbital. So finally, the space, whatever the space will be there around the nucleus, so that place will be called as an orbital. In this particular orbital only, the electron will be always rotates around the nucleus in the atom of the structure. So in a given space around the nucleus, only certain orbitals can exist. Only some orbitals only will be exist around the nucleus in the atom. So each orbital of a stable energy state for the electron is described by a particular set of quantum numbers. So around the nucleus, what are the orbitals will be present? In each orbital, how many number of electrons will be exist, and what about its velocity, and how they will be rotated, in what direction they will be rotated. These all will be given by the set of quantum numbers for each and every orbital. Those will be called as the quantum numbers here. So These quantum numbers will be gives the information about the structure, complete total internal structure of the atom, children. Means how many number of electrons will be present and what its direction, what about its position, what its velocity. These all will be given by the set of quantum numbers only. So here finally we have 4 quantum numbers. So those are, first one is principal quantum number, and second one is the angular momentum quantum number, and third one is the magnetic quantum number, and fourth one is the spin quantum number. So these are the 4 important quantum numbers which will give the information about the energy levels of the electrons present in the atom. So in that first one you can see principal quantum number. The principal quantum number is related to the size and energy of the main shell. The principal quantum number is related to the size and energy. So by using this principal quantum number, means it always indicates with the letter small n. So this principal quantum number is related to the size and energy of the main shell. N has positive integers, means the n value, the principal quantum number should be always have the positive integers only, +1, +2, +3 and so on, like that. So as n increases, the shells become larger and the electrons in those shells are farther from the nucleus. So whenever the n value will be getting increases, the shells become larger and the electrons in those shells are farther from the nucleus. For example, if n is equal to 1, it is very near to the nucleus. But if n is equal to 2, then it will goes to the second shell. So whenever n is equal to 1, it should be present in the first main shell, that is K shell. Whenever n is equal to 2, it will goes to the second shell, that is L. So it will be little bit farther than the first one. So if n is equal to 3, it will goes to the shell M, and it will be little bit more than the second one. So like that, by increasing the n values, we can able to go to the next energy levels of the shells. Those will be K, L, M, N. If n is equal to 1, the electron will be present in the first shell, that is K. If n is equal to 2, the electron will be present in the second shell. If n is equal to 3, it will goes to the third one. Like that, we can able to understand by using the principal quantum number. We can able to get the energy levels and their energies also. The size and energies will be known by the principal quantum number. And the second one, the angular momentum quantum number. So this angular momentum quantum number will be known by you. It will be always denoted with the letter small l. L has the integer values from 0 to n minus 1. L has always the integers only. Again, these are also positive integers only, from 0 to n minus 1. For each and every value of n, each L value should be present one subshell. So principal quantum number will gives the main shell, and angular momentum quantum number will gives the subshell. Okay, each value of L is related to the shape of particular subshell. So it will gives the shape of the subshell in the space around the nucleus. So the values of L for a particular subshell is generally designated by the letters SPD. So here you see, children, in the first one, principal quantum number, we have the main shells K, L, M, N, and in the second one, the angular momentum quantum number L indicates the subshells. In which subshell the electron will be present, those subshells will be denoted with SPDF. SPDF. If L is equal to 0, it will be present in the subshell S, and it will present in the first main shell K. And if L is equal to 1, it will be present in the second main shell, that is P. If L is equal to 2, it will be present in the third subshell, that is D. Like that, by using the L values, we can able to understand in which subshell the electron will be present in the atom. Okay. So here you see, when n is equal to 0, there is only one subshell with L is equal to 0. If n is equal to 1, n means the principal quantum number. If principal quantum number n is equal to 0, then L value will be becomes 0. So if L is equal to 0, the designation of the electron will be in 1s orbital. 1s orbital. So 1 is the main shell and s is the subshell. Okay. If n is equal to 2, if n is equal to 2, so there are two subshells. There are two subshells with L is equal to 0. Then 2s subshell will be 2s subshell, and with L is equal to 1, the 2p subshell. Okay, so like that, according to the principal quantum number and angular momentum quantum number, we can able to get in which main shell and in which subshell the electron will be present in the atom. These will be we can able to understand by using these two quantum numbers, and next two quantum numbers we can go for the next class. So each and everyone should follow the class properly and should read the lesson, children. So these quantum numbers are very important in this chapter. You should read this one and follow this one. Thank you.